Welcome to my channel, Ken here. Today let's talk about the Fryette Power Load IR. Let's go! So here's the Power Load IR. It has a bunch of connectivity on it. So it's definitely different from the other load boxes, cab sims that I've tried. For one thing, it can handle 200 watts, which is a whopping 200 watts because the other ones are usually at 100 watts or 150 watts. And I have a Torpedo Studio, and it often shut down when it got overheated, and you would have to wait for it to cool down, let's say with the Bogner amp or something like that. But I haven't had that experience with this guy yet. You have, importantly also, unlike other load boxes, in that you have a, right here, you have a switch to switch between different impedances, so 2 to 4, 8 and 16 ohms. You have a bunch of different kind of ways to connect it. So this is more analog than it is digital, unlike the, let's say, the aux box or the Torpedo, because it has an analog cabinet simulator. And the analog cab simulator you can adjust with these knobs here. You also have an IR loader in it, which has 4 banks. You know, it comes loaded with Fryette cabinets already, a bunch of different ones. I'll show you that later. Also, there's a USB input here, so you can upload your own IRs. It also has these 2 switches right here. These 2 switches, one is low frequencies, one is high frequencies, and this is independent on no matter what mode you run it through, and it'll always be active. On the back you have a bunch of different connectors, and this is important to note about this unit, is that it's how you connect it, how the front panel will function. So for example, in order to utilize the IRs that are you can put in here or that are built into this, you have to use this output. And then the knob on the front here will set the level on your output of this unit. You have a analog 1 and an analog 2, and they're not the same. 1 will be just the direct out, bypassing any electronics. So the amp comes out into this, and the analog out will just go straight through. The only thing that you can adjust are these 2. Then it will be a passive box. You don't need to power it up or do anything. It'll just be a reactive load. The other analog output will essentially be the analog cabinet simulator. And then you have this extravagant headphone system on it, so you can do completely silent practice with an effects loop, and you have some inputs that you can put an MP3 player on it, so you can practice to music. That would be over here. And then of course you have the obligatory speaker in here, cabinet in, and you also have an amp guitar signal in, so you can run it straight through the box. I'm not sure, I haven't really tried that, if it works like a direct box or if it's just passive straight through it, and you can spit it out to your audio interface as a clean channel, I guess. I haven't tried, like I said. So that's about it. I mean, you have a power input here, so you have it active for the IRs, and then the front panel will light up. And that's essentially it. Yeah, I forgot to mention before that you can actually have a cabinet pass through, so it goes to a cabinet and you can send it to the mixer. Anyway, I have a Marshall Super Lead Mark II modified by Dave Friedman. This has been in my possession since I was a teenager, so it's one of my oldest amps. I'm glad I got it modded, but here it is, running into the Power Load, and from the Power Load I'm running into the IR part of the Torpedo, loaded with a couple of Bogner IRs. So it's basically the Power Load IR is running a line out into the 2 notes, torpedo. All right, so basically on the power load right now, there's only 2 switches that'll work because it's running direct out. And that would be the 2 switches to the left and the edge, bright, deep, warm switch. Right now it's set to bright and warm. I'll turn them both off. So now it's set to flat. And then back to warm and bright. Okay, I'll set it to edge and deep. Forgot to mention that I'm boosting the Friedman Marshall with a Ibanez Fortin modified TS9. Okay, now I'll take the bottom end out and just keep it on edge. And bright. And flat, and the warm setting. And the deep. This amp pushes 120 watts because it has 6550s in it, so it's pretty darn loud if it was in a cabinet right now. Deafening. You know, what's really interesting about this Fryette box is that the fan only goes on when the power amp is pushing it. So the more it pushes, the faster the fan is working, and then when you stop, the fan stops. I wish other people in the industry would take note of that one, because that is incredibly cool. All right, everything is flat again. So I'll change the output of the power load, and I'm running through the analog cab simulator, and this is what it sounds like. Okay, and I'll set it to warm and bright, just in the middle. Okay, I'm going to turn the high mid up. So these knobs will really boost your output gain of the power load into your audio interface. Here's the middle. And then out. So this is just the raw signal from the amp. So cab simulator in. And this is the level. So that basically is it. Sounds good. I mean, it's a little hard to beat an IR that you tweaked and you work with, but I don't know, there's a quality to it that's pretty neat, in the sense that it's pretty immediate. So here we have the IR section of this load box, and it has 4 banks with 4 presets in each. So that's 16 IRs. It comes preloaded with a bunch of Fryette's own cabinets, and here's one of them, 4x12. And the way you switch this is you we'll take one here. So now I'm in bank 1, preset 1, also 412. They sound good. The way it works is that you connect the load box, you turn it off, you put a USB cable in it, and it'll appear as a hard drive or like a USB stick on your computer. You go into the file system and you load up your IR. This has not been smooth sailing for me. For one thing, it's a bizarre thing, and I eject this as a hard drive to disconnect it, and it reappears. And it does it all the time, like within a couple of seconds it comes back. So I have no way of ejecting it. I'm not sure what that is. Mac issue maybe. I've never seen this behavior before. And second of all, I loaded up a bunch of IRs in one of the banks, and I don't hear them. So I'm not sure what that's all about. I'm going to try and contact the manufacturer, find out what that's all about and get to the bottom of that. But anyway, other than that, I think there's a couple of things I really like about this box. The way the fan works is brilliant. It only goes on when the amplifier pushes power into it, and it'll do it dynamically. So if you have a 20 watt amp, it won't run as fast as it will with a 120 watt amp. I love the fact that it's rated at 200 watts. So there's headroom for most amplifiers. And I don't have a 200 watt amp here, but I can tell you that if I run the Bogner into this, or some of the very high powered amps into, let's say, the torpedo will crap out. It'll overheat and it'll just shut itself off until it cools down. This won't do it. So that's really cool. And the other thing I like about it a lot is those switches on the front. They're super convenient if you want a little more brightness or a little more warmth to the sound. It's immediate. Also, the actual reactive load in this sounds really good. Better than anything I've heard so far, so that's high praise. It just has a warmth and a forward mid-range that I really appreciate. There's a warmth to this unit in general, which is nice. And that's not to say that you can't get brightness out of it, because you can. It just seems to be very natural sounding to me. So that's a very cool box. Just for that alone, you know, I'll just run the IRs either through the torpedo or on the computer anyway. That's more sophisticated, because, you know, it's kind of limited. You can't run 2 IRs at the same time, and a couple of other things that are a little limiting on this. And the analog camp simulator is very interesting, but it's very useful in a pinch, but I don't think it can't compete with the ocean of IRs that you can get out there in a real cabinet, for that matter. But very cool box, very well made, solid as can be. I like it. And just the analog part of it sounds really good in this one. The reactive load sounds really good. I love the fact that it's XLRs on the back and a couple of other things that are very cool. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, take care.